So as we know in the beginning of the movie, the Grinch's heart was 2 sizes too small.
Mhm.
And then at the end, his heart grows 3 sizes. And if you're listening to this and you feel like this is happening to you, please reach out to your cardiologist. Uh,
Immediately.
yeah. Welcome back to the first and only,
Whew.
still the first and only podcast, looking at the intersection of pop culture and the Christian faith. I'm Dan Ulrich, joined as always by my co-host. The 3 words that best describe him are as follows, and I quote, stink, stank, stunk. That's Dave Hallahan.
That's me. And you go 1 week at camp without showering, and that nickname sticks
Yep.
with you, just
Yep.
like the smell does, I
Yep.
guess.
You're,
Still trying to scrub it off.
you're the third butt cheese brother.
Butt cheese, yes. Which, if you went to Sicklerville United Methodist Church in the late '90s, early 2000s, and you were a butt cheese brother, reach out, let us know.
I explained that to my daughters as they were going to camp. I was like, listen, you got to make sure you're showering and taking care of yourself, or you might become known as the butt cheese sisters at camp. Because when I went to camp, kids that didn't shower or didn't take their bathing suits off in the shower, they were the butt cheese brothers. Because if you don't shower real well between your butt, get that cheese growing.
Don't want that to happen. That's for sure. But that's probably why the Grinch stank, and stunk. He didn't shower enough.
For sure.
Maybe he was the original butt cheese brother.
The butt cheese father.
If you will.
So we are back for Christmas season, Advent season. Dave, have you hustled and bustled?
I am actually hustling and bustling.
Time of year you can do it.
That's true. Now working for our overlord Jeff Bezos, I'm
Not a
hustling,
sponsor.
not a sponsor. That's why I mentioned his name and not his company. When he's ready to buck up and become a sponsor, I'll say which company it is. But yeah, I'm delivering a lot of people's Christmas gifts, and so I'm hustling, bustling all over the place.
And if you leave a review, 5-star written review, Dave will grab a package out of the back of his truck
Yeah, free,
and
yes, free package.
and
Uh,
and put a new address on it.
yep, just mark it as missing. Not my fault.
Do you feel like you're kind of like Santa?
No, I don't.
But you're literally bringing the presents.
No, it's true. I do. Especially there are times when there are like kids at the door, or even just like playing in the street or whatever, and they think I'm pretty awesome, and so that makes me feel like Santa. They're like, "Oh, is this for us? Is this for us?"
And then you go and put it under the doormat so they can't see it.
Yes, exactly.
Do you get letters from people that are like, hide this from my spouse, please?
I did. What's funny? So, do you ever get text messages from
Yep, I
your
get text messages.
from your Amazon delivery person?
No,
Okay, so they have the ability to text you, and
they just don't like me enough.
we're actually encouraged to do that, so that they're more likely to rate us favorably. I just text so that hopefully they are like, yeah, this guy texted me, but I know I don't read what they send back most of the time. It doesn't come through like a normal text message, so I would have
Okay.
to like go in and see it and all that. So I just like text and I move on. I texted one guy and apparently he said, "Put it by the garage. My kids are home." And thankfully, I didn't see it, but thankfully he like came out before I actually delivered it, and he's like, "Oh, did you see? Can you put it over by the garage?" I'm like, "Oh, my bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah." But it was definitely like it was a Nerf gun, but it wasn't like in packaging. It just said Nerf across the side. I'm like, "Good catch, good catch.
All
Your
right.
son definitely would have figured this out."
Yeah, I saw a ring cam video where the dad's like walking his 2 daughters, and there's a huge like Barbie dream house that is just in the Barbie thing. He's like,
Right.
close your eyes, close your eyes. And they're like, "Is
Yeah.
that for us?" He's like,
There
"No,
are
it's the neighbors. They got delivered to the wrong house."
Yeah, there are most packages are in some sort of, like, branded envelopes, but even if they're not, they're in some sort of, like, bland like, you don't know what's in it, right?
Right.
But there are a few where it's like, "This is clearly, like, a toy, and I'm
Mm,
putting it right in front of this door." Like, I wonder who's going to see it first.
yeah. So, this is the only time of year when you can hustle and bustle. The rest of the year, you're just busy and stressed out.
You're on your grind set the rest of the year.
Yep. Ding dong, rise and grind. Here we go. Get after that.
But this time of year, we're hustling and bustling.
Yep. You gotta do what you gotta do, right?
It's true.
Christmas waits for nobody.
But we all
Uh,
wait for Christmas.
this is the gospel according to the Grinch. Dave, there's been a few iterations of the Grinch now.
Mm, yes.
What would you say was your favorite?
I think the latest is my favorite.
From Illumination.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's
A
not a real
fun
name.
it's a fun name to say. I think that's probably my favorite one. I think I would rank them Benedict Cumberbatch, original, the book, random person wearing green, Jim Carrey's The Grinch.
Not a fan.
I'm not. I think I assume, I don't actually remember. I assume I talked about it last year around Christmas that it is my Christmas movie hot take is that Jim Carrey's The Grinch is hot garbage.
Would you rather have to watch Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas or eat a 8 slices of Mac and Manco's pizza?
That oh, 8 slices, a whole
Yeah,
pie?
whole pie.
I'll watch the movie for sure.
Oh, man. He had to go through, like, all this makeup and prosthetics and stuff, Dave.
It he's not even bad. The movie is bad. I I'm recycling old material here, but if you've seen the new Aladdin, it's the same thing. Will Smith does a good job as the genie. I was surprised and impressed because Robin Williams looms so large as the genie. But the new Aladdin is a terrible movie. Will Smith is a good genie. Jim Carrey was a fine Grinch, but the movie's just so weird and bizarre and just it's so chaotic. I just not a fan.
I think my take on The Grinch is kind of the same way that SNL, like, will have these popular sketches that they'll be reoccurring, and so the next step is, like, let's make a movie.
Mm.
It's like we have these 4-minute Night at the Roxbury sketches, like, let's make that into a movie, and you're just, like, stretching a plot thing or, like, MacGruber, like, and trying to make 90 minutes out of it, and it's like, do we need the backstory of the Grinch? Like, do
Right.
we need like, it's great as the whatever 10-minute, or just reading through the book or the initial 10-minute animation or however long it is, like, can that be enough? Do we need to make world build
Mm,
Whoville and,
yeah.
get to know Cindy Lou and, the Max and the Grinch relationship? Like, it's pretty nicely packaged into the story in and of itself. Like,
Yeah,
fill
sure.
in the details with your mind.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of fluff that we don't need. Like the original story cuts to the point, you get it. You leave like just as warm as you do in the full version. I think it's probably like everything's like dark and gritty now. Like that's what we want to do with our movies. And like all of our villains are complicated as well.
Mm.
Like you need to complicate them. So I think in that kind of genre, that vein is why we like want to build into the Grinch's story. I would think what they actually should have done, obviously they didn't have both planned at the time, but like the most recent one and Jim Carrey's should swap because I think like Jim Carrey's The Grinch, that the whole movie is very cartoony and like
Mhm.
over the top and like even his upbringing and like you got this little Grinch who's like shaving and like cutting his face with that thing and you've got this weird the mayor's wife who's like hot for Grinch which is like weird. Like it's not it makes
Maybe
me
we just don't need that at all.
I agree, don't need it at all, but it's like it. To me, I think it would work better if it were a cartoon
Okay.
than real life.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the latest one, it's a very, like, realistic as far as, like, you get over the fact that the Grinch exists, like, it's a very realistic storyline, like, a single mom who's struggling and this girl who just wants to, like, sees her mom struggling, wants to give her a break and thinks Santa's the way to do it, and that warms the heart of this person, the Grinch, who doesn't like it because of past trauma. Like, all of that works better as real people
Mm.
than Jim Carrey's version does.
No, I could see that. I just think in general, yeah, we're adding this fluff. Like, there's this, the new one has the whole reindeer like thing. He's like
Mhm.
looking for the reindeer and he's hunting for that.
Hey there. Sorry, little goat. I was calling for a ring.
The old one, like you said, the backstory of him being laughed at and he's shaving his hair and eyebrows. Like, spend 15 minutes in a Walmart during Christmas time. Like, that's enough for you to hate the commercialization of Christmas. Like, you don't
Right.
need to have past Who trauma to get to that point with the Grinch. I could see me getting to that point, living an isolated life and the noise and light pollution that Christmas can bring. The commercialization of Christmas can bring. Like, that's enough to make somebody hate it.
Holiday hooby wuddy.
Bigger question that we need to get at before the ultimate question, Dave.
'Kay.
If the Who celebrate Christmas,
Mm,
does this mean that there was a Who Jesus who died for the sins of Whoville?
mm. That is an excellent question. Just like if there are aliens, I think for some people, well, for me too, but like for people that are theologically curious, it opens up questions of like, what does that mean if there's life on other planets? And I don't have exact answers for it, but I bet if there's life on other planets, God's figured that out and has interacted with them in ways that are necessary for them. So I'm okay with a who Jesus.
You're wrong. So you think not that this is like a post-apocalyptic landscape and that they're just celebrating the remnants of what they've found to be purpose and not really the religious significance of what Christmas was.
I think it's also possible that like our greatest export is just some Americanized, commercialized Christmas that years, centuries, millennia from now, that's what exists.
Well, I was surprised with the new one, 2018 Benedict
Mm.
Cumberbatch Illumination, that they sing "God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen."
It's true. Yeah, they didn't shy away from the Christian themes in Christmas through songs, which I was a little surprised as well. But it's because it wasn't woke Disney. That's why, Dan.
Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day. But the real reason we are here, the real reason why Dave spent hundreds of dollars to buy a new laptop is so that we could answer this question. What is the gospel according to the Grinch? People want to know.
Everybody wants to know. I have a long answer. Are you ready?
Well, there's not a time cap on this, so.
And I think that we see the whole salvation process played out in the Grinch, with the Grinch, in fact.
Okay.
Um, so, in some class, at some point, I learned there's different ways to explain salvation and all that, but that there are 6 parts of salvation. You ready for
Yep.
these? All right, you taking notes.
Mhm.
First is calling, like the calling of the Spirit, right? He calls you into salvation. When you receive or accept that call, then there's regeneration, that you're made new. Uh, then there's justification. So you are justified. Your sins are forgiven. It's as if you've never sinned. You are adopted into the family of God. You are sanctified. So you're saved from the power of sin. And eventually we will be glorified where we are removed from sin. So we have calling, regeneration, justification, adoption, sanctification, glorification. You with me so far?
Yeah, the Theo Bros are coming after you though.
That's fine. Um,
The ones that don't believe that.
right. Well,
But no,
c
I'm tracking.
come get me. I think with all of this, I'm gonna go with, like, the traditional original Grinch story,
Mhm.
okay? So the calling happens kinda after he steals Christmas, and then they're around singing, and he hears them, and he's like, "What? Like, Christmas still came?" Um, and he puzzled until his puzzler was sore, and then he had a thought he hadn't had before, that maybe Christmas is about something more. And I
Mhm.
think that was the spirit calling him into something new, a different way of thinking, a different way
Yeah, his
of living.
preconceived notions about what Christmas was all about were changed, and he has this, moment of, heart pull questions that
Mhm.
he's now going to pursue.
Yeah, so this is the calling. And then you, interesting that you said heart pull, because what happens is his heart grows 3 sizes.
Mhm.
This is regeneration. He has a new, by all accounts, he has a new heart. It works differently than it did before. He's a new creature, a new being. And then he is justified. He enters into the community of the Who's, and nobody like holds on to his record of wrongs. They don't say, well, you owe us our Christmas stuff back, or we don't know if we can trust you. He's just welcomed right in. He's adopted as one of their own. He eats with them at the big feast, and he even gets to carve the roast beast. So
That's correct.
he's adopted into who they are. Now the last two parts are sanctification and glorification, and we kind of have to like go extra biblical, outside the text of the Grinch to
Extra
get there.
Grinchical.
Extra Grinchical, because we don't actually see these parts in the story of the Grinch. We don't. The story stops after that one Christmas, but much like in the story of John chapter 8, where Jesus spares the woman who is caught in adultery and bids her to go and sin no more, we are left with the only assumption worth having, which is that she, in fact, went on sinning no more, that her life was changed. An encounter with mercy that great makes you live differently. And so I think we assume the same about the Grinch, that that was a sanctifying moment for him.
Yeah.
And then
Go and
we have
Grinch no more.
going
It
Grinch
says
no more. And then we have glorification, where for us, that will be either when we die from this earth, or when God brings the new heaven and earth to this earth, uh, where we will be separated from the presence of sin totally. But for the Grinch, I think that's him being forever immortalized in this story, that we do remember his sins. It's part of the story, but when we tell the story of the Grinch, we're not telling it to point out these are the things that he did wrong. Instead, we're telling the story to remind us of the power of salvation and transformation. And so Grinch is forever glorified and immortalized in these stories. So, in the story of the Grinch, we have all 6 aspects of salvation. That's the gospel according to the Grinch.
wow, packaged it with a bow,
Mm,
6 points. Do you think he ever gets, upset that his name is used as still the place he was once at? Like, "Oh, you're such a Grinch."
yeah.
Or you know how like, "Oh, man, look at this Scrooge over there." Be like,
Uh,
"No,
I
I'm a different
changed.
person."
Yeah.
Like, did you not finish watching
Well,
the movie?
I like to think that in Whoville, when you do something wrong and then you transform your ways, they're like, "Oh, you're such a Grinch."
So they stayed on
It's
the
actually
positive.
it's a positive thing.
It's the
Yeah.
opposite, kind of how, like, when people, like it's like, "Look at this Einstein over there." They're not really talking about a really smart guy. What more can I say? I think it's pretty hits the nail on the head about this transformation part of what can happen in somebody when they connect with the real, sense of Christmas or the real
Mm,
sense of Jesus, that sometimes people have preconceived notions that are wrong about religion, or maybe they are right in certain contexts, but uh they are missing the mark on those things. There's been times when I've encountered atheists, or I've encountered people that have been hurt by the church, or know people that have hurt by the church, and it's just it's sad. But then when you start to talk to them, some people have ideas about the things of our faith, about the things of Christ that are just hearsay or what somebody else said down the line, or seventh grade biology teacher said this thing, or they heard it on a video somewhere, and then they've never really been confronted with that because maybe that's becoming the social norm of, oh, the Bible's just full of contradictions. And okay, where? I don't know. That's what they say. I've heard somebody say that. Well, if you're gonna build your entire life upon certain things, we need to kind of check it out for ourselves. We need to look down at Whoville. We need to seek to maybe experience it or dive deeper into those things before we're ready to, write off of faith. And maybe as Christians, we need to be living out the Who life, or challenging some of those Grinch
Mm,
behaviors
yeah.
in doing that.
I do think that is where maybe filling in the backstory of the Grinch is helpful because, like, in this scenario that we're playing out here, like, asking the Grinch, like, "What Christmas don't you celebrate?" And then
Mm.
when he's like, "Well, it's just about the stuff. It's about and all these people, they have more than I could ever have, and they still want more, and they're greedy." And then they're like, "Well, that's we don't celebrate that Chris we don't like that Christmas either. That's not what this is actually about." And so, I've heard and have had people say, "Well, I can't believe in a God who fill in the blank." And sometimes when people fill in that blank, I'm like, "Yeah, I I couldn't or I don't believe in that God either." So we're the same in that sense because the God that I believe in, blah 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 blah, not what you think. And so I think that is helpful. And I think too, kind of one of the like secondary gospel-y themed issues that I saw in the Grinch is that idea of like Grinchiness, like, around the holidays. Like, there are people who I guess some people, like, are just angry and grumpy, and that's kinda just who they are by nature. But for some people, like, the holidays are hard because of past trauma. And, um, and even for you and I are both very pro church, but for some people, church is traumatic for them because of past experiences. And we can't just be like, well, get over it. You're such a Grinch or you're such a Scrooge, because in some places that has a different meaning. But no, we can't just like say that because we don't know what has led them to that place. I think if the church has hurt people, we can't just say, well, get over it and go to a new church. It'll be better. I think as a part of a church, we have to be willing to prove ourselves as agents of healing, not agents of more trauma. And it might take a while for us to do that. But as we see in the Grinch, when we are true to what God has called us to, people will take notice of that.
And I love the expression, in the first in the Jim Carrey version, he's kind of this, you know, isolated person that everybody kind of doesn't like. It's generally known as like, oh, the Grinch, like they don't want him around, except for the one that has the hots for him. But everybody else is like, good riddance, stay up there. One of the things I love about maybe the expression of community, the expression of Christianity, is in the new animated one. He comes into town, and it's
Mm,
people aren't like looking at him and pointing. Like
right.
the carolers are trying to sing to him, like people are trying to invite him into
Maybe a
their
little
store.
aggressively, but
But just that idea that he's making himself an outcast, but even before the ultimate moment of the story, like the Who's would have welcomed him into their community, or they
right.
were welcoming him in there. He was the one that was isolating himself because he would only come in a few times a year to get his supplies and then leave. But they were welcoming, and
Hmm.
they weren't thinking anything of it when he came to town, whereas kind of the Jim Carrey one, it was like gasps and like
Yeah.
points and like, oh, there he is, and that kind of mentality. But ultimately, I think we see the gospel very clearly, and as many times as I feel like I've heard the original one or read the book, that it's still gets to me, those lines that you referenced, every who down in Whoville, the tall and the small was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came somehow or other, it came just the same. And then he says maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. And, throughout the commercialization that happens around this time of year, and the buying and sending presents and decorating, I still feel like we as a society have not yet lost that simple truth about Christmas being more than these things, and Christmas's deeper meaning of Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is something that sometimes it takes, like, for the Who's, or like for the Who's from the Grinch's perspective, it takes losing those things to realize that Christmas is about more
Mhm.
than just that. Um, when you have a down Christmas, financially or whatever, to realize that, oh, well, it wasn't about that stuff anyway. Or maybe it takes the loss of a community where you still have the same amount of gifts or whatever, but you don't have the people that you used to spend it with, and you realize that's what makes had made Christmas special to begin with. Um, and also, there's a parallel to Easter here with, I think, with Christ dying on the cross. And then I think of, especially of Paul in like 1 Corinthians 15, death, where is your sting? That, like, that looked like a victory for the enemy, that Jesus was coming to usher in this new kingdom, and look, he's dead now. Like, um but what happens on Easter is it couldn't be stopped. It came anyway. It wasn't about the military might. It wasn't really even about life itself. It was about something much more than that. And it was through death that uh, really made that kingdom come to begin with. And so there is an upside down nature to
Yeah,
the story of the Grinch, and we see that very much in the kingdom of God.
absolutely. And you've referenced the book a lot, Unoffendable, is that what it's
Mm.
called?
Yeah, yeah,
Where it's like we're living in such a way where it's not jumping down people's throats, but we're reacting in a Christ-like nature that I think really makes people think that, okay, somebody's coming at us and they're seeking to intentionally or not hurt us, or condemn us or offend us. And we're responding with a nature of humility and peace and love, realizing that we don't know what's going on in another person's
mm,
life. And so responding in such a way where we're just going to still sing our songs, and we're still going to celebrate regardless of the presence. Like, I'm still going to react with kindness and love to you, even though that's not what you're giving to me.
right,
And I feel like that is a way that transformation can happen. That's a way where people can be, you know, paused, because what are they expecting? They're expecting, somebody that they're flipping off is going to flip them back off.
right,
They're expecting that somebody, because that's human nature. But if we do the upside down kingdom and respond with love to hate, respond with kindness to bitterness, then it's like, wait, hold on a second. Why? What is
yeah,
going on here?
yeah. There's a so in I think it's in Romans, but it's quoting a psalm where Paul says to overcome evil uh, with good, and like when you do that, it's like heaping coals on
Hmm.
someone's head, and I know when I read that, I'm like, "Ha, I'll show you. I'm gonna burn your skull with my kind actions,"
Yeah.
which I don't think is the point of of it. If you'll recall in the story of Isaiah, when Isaiah gets in a vision, gets called up to heaven, and he says, "I'm a man of unclean lips," and
Hmm.
an angel comes with a coal and puts it on his lips to purify his lips. I think what the psalmist is saying, what Paul is saying, is that when evil is thrown at us and we respond with good, that there's a purifying, not a burning painful vengeance that happens, but there's a purifying aspect to that. And so that's what we're called to do. That when evil is done to us, we celebrate and we worship anyway. And that has a way of purifying those who committed the acts of evil, like we see in the Grinch, but in real life examples, like we see throughout church history, that the church has always thrived when it has been persecuted because they respond in kindness and in love. And that draws maybe not always those who are doing the persecuting, but it draws people to them. Um, and where the church is the strongest in the world today is in China, where it's being persecuted. It's in Africa, where it has been persecuted. So, like, that's where the church is thriving. Where in Europe, in America, where we've had power as Christians for years, it's kind of like, well, whatever. The church is humming along and things are fine, I guess. But it's not. I'd be hard pressed and to believe anyone who says the church is thriving uh, here or in Europe.
I think you're forgetting about the war on Christmas, though, Dave. We're currently under assault.
Yes. Well,
All right. Dave, you ready to play a game?
I was born ready
Whoa. You were
for
born
this moment.
premature? I was born 2 days premature.
I
So
was born right on time. I was a C-section.
here you go. All right. So this game is going to be seeing how Grinchy you are.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a Christmas item activity, and you're going to tell me how big or small your heart is towards this.
Okay.
So, as we know in the beginning of the movie, the Grinch's heart was 2 sizes too small.
Mhm.
And then at the end, his heart grows 3 sizes. And if you're listening to this and you feel like this is happening to you, please reach out to your cardiologist. Uh,
Immediately.
yeah,
Pause the episode, pull over, call
yeah,
your cardiologist.
yeah.
Really,
Uh,
either one. If you feel like your heart is too small or a size too large,
it's
either
not
way,
pumping too much or it's pumping too. It's
get that checked out.
Yeah, and hopefully your doctor isn't last name isn't Seuss because he was not a medical doctor. So I'm going to give you this, and you can tell me, you know, a range of heart 2 sizes too small or heart one size too big, I guess. So one, two, or three. How
Okay.
much you love this, and so if your heart's small, it means you're a Grinch towards these things.
Okay.
All right. First off, when you see Christmas lights, what do you feel? What do you think? You thinking about your
Um
electric bill, or you thinking about? Uh,
Okay, so just like I see a house that is decorated with Christmas lights, maybe
yes.
even my own house. Um, I'm gonna say that my heart has grown 3 sizes. I have an enlarged heart here. I'm a fan of Christmas lights. Um, we, especially during the COVID times, we used to drive around like every night and go see Christmas lights because what else were we gonna do? Um, so since then, our girls were very young at that time, 2020. So that was a formative time for them, which means now every year we have to go out on multiple trips to go see Christmas lights. But I do enjoy it. I'm supposed to be putting up my Christmas lights today. I'm not. My heart is 2 sizes too small for doing the work.
So
When it's done
that's the
when
real
it's
reason
done
why you had a long answer for what's the
yes.
gospel according to the Grinch. You're postponing something.
Exactly, yes.
All right, next one. You are invited to a Christmas party.
Mm. Um, this my heart, uh, s could go in any direction here. It definitely depends on, like, the nature of the party, who I'm I'm going to Gen Z you with this and be like, "Who's coming? Who
Da-
else
Da-
who else is
Dave,
gonna be there?"
Dave, would you like to come to a Christmas party?
Yours, Dan? Yes. Why don't we get together this Friday, actually? Um, I would say generally I'm down to party though. So I'm gonna say my heart is a normal size for a Christmas party.
Okay.
I'll just meet in the middle.
Okay. You wake up and you look out your window, and there is a blanket of snow covering your yard.
Oh, historically, I'm gonna say large heart for this one. I'm a fan of snow. Even into my driving years, I'm
Mhm.
like, "Yep," even into, like, having to work. Um, but now that I work for beep, I don't know that I'm gonna be a fan of a lot of snow, but we'll
Y
see if it happens. We made it no snow last winter in New Jersey, but
you're gonna be delivering packages and people
I
will
yeah, I
will
think if
have.
it's a day that I work, I my heart will shrink a lot of sizes.
Let's go with hot chocolate. You're offered, a piping hot, uh, mug of cocoa.
I guess normal size heart. I'm I it does not make me angry if someone offers me hot chocolate.
Ugh.
But, we may have talked about this, probably have on a podcast before. I just don't drink hot beverages, doesn't matter what it is. I probably have less than a dozen hot beverages a year, between hot tea or hot chocolate. I don't drink coffee. So, I'm just whatever. I'm lukewarm on hot chocolate.
How many of those 10 beverages are going to be hot chocolate?
Um, 4, 40%.
Preferred, topping?
Uh, whipped cream.
Whipped cream?
Mhm.
No mini marshmallows?
They, disappear too quickly.
How about peppermint? Little candy
I
cane?
No, I don't really like mint.
Yeah, same. We're so alike. Yeah, I don't like hot things either. Like, there's, like, a very small window where I will drink a hot chocolate. Like, it's, like, too hot, too hot, too hot, too hot, too hot, too hot, perfect, too cold, too cold, too cold, too cold. Like, there's a very small
Yes,
window,
yes.
and to get to that window, I usually, like, burn my mouth, like, 5 times trying to find that window.
Yes.
What's your ideal time
Mm.
to wake up Christmas morning?
In a world where I'm fully indulging in my selfish desires, we're talking like 10 AM, but I have adjusted my expectations to reality, so, I feel like 7 is, like, not bad. If we make it till 7, I feel like we did a good job.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think the girls the last couple years have are I felt like I was always when I was a kid, was, like, super, like my parents would be like, "Do not come until 6 o'clock,"
Right.
but I'd be up before then, like, watching the clock,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like our girls are, like, easy, like, 7 or past it, or at least
Yeah.
the last couple years, we'll see, I don't know about this year, but they're kind of less antsy to, like, wake up than I was. Are you a primary decorator of the tree? So I'm gonna say decorating the Christmas tree.
Y
How many hearts?
Oh, okay, I'm ranking it on hearts. I will say that Leah, my wife, almost assuredly laughed out loud when she heard you say, "Are you the primary decorator of the tree?" No, I'm not. Um, this is a little bit Christmas lights for me. Same answer. So rewind, go listen. I don't wanna do it, but I'm happy when it's done. We've actually so behind me, you see a Christmas tree that is decorated. My daughters did most of this. It's got colorful lights. We had this tree for several years. It's artificial, um, and it's a little squatty. Not gonna lie to you. It's a short guy.
I was
And
like,
Leah
"What
got
are you
tired.
what's squatty?"
Leah got tired of having a tree that she felt like was too short. So we got another one, and now she has a tree that she can decorate and make look pretty, and then this one that the girls can make look fun. So we actually have 2 Christmas trees in our house, the fun one and the aesthetically pleasing one.
And which one has a more prominent place in your household?
So this one behind me is in the room that we are in most of the time, but the other one is more in, like, the display room of the house, if you will.
Okay. Which one gets the presents, or you put presents under both trees?
I'm pretty sure this one's gonna get the presents. It's the fun tree after all, so
The stupid other stupid tree that
we'll have to
goes,
leave a note for Santa.
like, you put the manicured presents with the nice
I'll put
bow.
Leah's presents under the nice tree.
Well, let's go to that. How wrapping presents? How Grinchy are you?
I don't like to wrap presents, and Leah again will laugh because I don't wrap any of our kids' presents. I wrap probably like 4 presents all Christmas season, uh, and I normally wait till the last moment to do
And
so.
are they Leah's presents?
Yes.
Did she buy them and you just are
No, no,
wrapping
no,
them?
no, no, no. I I normally get her presents. We're at the age and stage, I think, of life right now where it's like, "Hey babe, I'm gonna get this. It's my don't get me anything for Christmas. I'm gonna go buy this. Don't get me anything for my birthday." We
Yeah,
use holidays are excuses to buy ourselves things at this
the
point.
things that you already wanna buy.
Right.
Julie does that, like, she has to, in her mind, justify purchases.
Yeah.
Um, like, for me, I would just be like, "Yeah, you need a new coat, like, buy a new coat," like, or whatever, but
Right.
it's like it'll be, like, a month after her birthday and be like, "Alright, can this coat be for my birthday?" "Sure.
Yeah.
Yes."
Yes.
Like,
Whatever
if
makes you
that's
happy.
if that's what it needs to be for you
Right.
to, justify this thing that you clearly need or, deserve, then yes, that's your late birthday present. Oh, but yeah. So all you Grinches out there, um, hopefully you can experience Christmas this Christmas season for what it
Mm,
is, the
yes.
true reason for the season,
Mm,
and that is roast beast.
mm. Yes,
No,
yes.
that is Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
right, right.
Emmanuel, God with us. Thank you for joining us along this ride with the gospel according to. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms that exist or have ever existed: Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Whoville Weekly, the bulletin board at your local Kroger. Follow us at TGAT Podcast. If you have any rebukes, anything that you want
Mm.
to tell Dave that he is wrong, you can do that. Send us slide in the DMs on any of those things, or send us an email. Or if you just have any question, you want to send us an email, you can at tgatpod@gmail.com or tgatpodcast podcast at any of our socials. Thank you for sharing the gospel according to with your family, friends, or even ugly, disfigured green monster that lives on the top of the mountain.
Like Dan said, make sure you're sharing the gospel according to with friends and family. A great way to make sure that this podcast reaches a larger audience. It's free, it's easy, it's safe. It, no one no one has ever hurt themselves doing this to my knowledge.
Yeah.
You can email me if I'm wrong about that, but leave us a 5-star rating and review. Goes a really long way. And again, simple, easy task. Wherever you listen, Spotify, Apple Podcast. If you listen somewhere else that has a rating system,
Yeah.
beautiful. Do it.
That's really all we want this Christmas from you.
All all I want for Christmas is a 5-star review.
Yeah.
Um,
Screenshot it, send to us. We'll read it.
and
We'll
we will.
we'll
And you'll
say
be
thank
like, "Hey, I wrote that," and you'll be as famous as me. So thank you for listening to your favorite Hump Day podcast. We'll see you next week. This was the Gospel according to
you.
the
The
Grinch.
Grinch. The Grinch.
Holiday horror. What
Oh,
a
what a
Max.
You're the third butt cheese brother.
Maybe he was the original butt cheese brother.
The butt cheese father.
So, do you ever get text messages from
Yep, I
your?
get text messages.
If not, oh, I almost did. I already say the company once. I don't know. I'll edit it out. And from Horton Hears a Who, we know that the Who's and Whoville is like a microscopic people in a microscopic land,
Maybe
right?
we are.
Or yeah, that's true. That's fair. Yeah, I don't. I guess I don't know.
But yeah, so let us know in the comments what your theological point is to how the Who's are
Mm,
celebrating Christmas. Are
yes.
they humanoid characters?
Mm,
Are they have they been mutated by a atomic nuclear war? And that is caused their disfigurement in this way, and the Grinch is maybe was disfigured even further from the nuclear wasteland.
I think "For God so loved the world" is actually "For God so loved the cosmos," right? So, I think God loves even the Who's and sent his son even for the Who's.
So
It's
the
biblical.
Who's have a soul.
Sure.
Is Max going to be in heaven, Dave?
No, animals aren't in heaven, sorry.
But what if they're
Well,
anamorphic?
I should change I changed my answer. There will be animals in heaven, but
Just not
not
Max.
not your not your dead animals. They don't go to heaven.
What if I said the sinner's prayer over them?
Nope, doesn't work.
What if I said, "Do you accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior? Don't say anything if you believe yes."
Ruff, ruff. Oh, Max, screwed it up.
Did you ever see the end of Men in
Hortons.
Black or Men
Yes,
in Black
but
2
I
when
forget.
that like we're well, you know the like scene where they open the locker and there's like a whole civilization like
Yes.
living. But then
Mhm.
I think at the end of one of the movies, like a bigger being opens up like
Gotcha, yeah.
a proverbial locker, and our universe is inside of that.
It's true. I guess Horton could be somewhere outside, and we could actually be microscopic beings within Whoville. It is this is possible. But anyway, um, I think that it is possible. I'm yes. And as you're sharing that, nope, I'm gonna cut that out because I don't know where I was going with that.